Um, you know, for me, I know that the torture I'm going to experience is going to be very bad because of how I'm super not subscribing. No matter how they make me experience things. Um, can you imagine being a perp? Your job is to make somebody accept manipulation. You have to act accordingly. Your job, your task, they call it being a war, but it's not, is to make somebody identify with things manipulated for him to experience in certain ways. Now, at this point, I don't even need to try to think the way I would think if I was not being manipulated to think this way. I know it's not natural. I know that it's been like that. And there's no need for me to even try because there's no way I can be myself anymore. I will just have to accept that my brain is manipulated. Like they like to say, take the fact that I will never experience things the way I would experience if I was me. I'm no longer me. And so this is what they control me to experience. Now, the way they want you to logically think about this is like this. These perps contracted by governmental entities who utilize this technology onto us as we are human subjects. Basically, this technology is a weapon on us because it's forcing us to think in disturbing ways. And they're trying to break us down using this technology. For me, it's been like this. It's been trying to make me accept nasty, disturbing reaction toward children. That they make me think that when I was a child, I would think like that. Now, you heard what I just said. You heard what I just said, and you know that what I just said sounds childlike, basically on a spectrum, in the sense that it's just illogical. Why would somebody try to make you think a way you were thinking when you were not an adult, when you were a child? Why would they try to make somebody think like a child when they're not a child? That is, first of all, how stupid it sounds. But it's not even how I felt when I was a child. It's how they are changing my memory to experience things as my childhood memories. But even the logic ways, or the way they want you to accept in a logical way, you know it's just nonsensical. Forget about the validation that you're going to get later on. Right now, in the next picture, you'll see quickly, you'll see a family of this rapper. Bunch of little kids, little girls, babies. This one, they do this extra stimulation. This is a very beautiful little girl. This tiny little girl over there. Innocent little baby. The way they give me the stimulation is like a sensation that tried to make me think that I felt like that when I was a kid. And first of all, I'm not a child. I know I will be able to see this family as what it is, a family. Beautiful family, And this beautiful little girl, I would see her for the little baby that she is. Not getting the stimulation that can make me experience today. It's nasty. And that stimulation really initiated, but they initially said that it was me when I was a kid. I was used to feel this weird, it's like, no. You are making me feel this way. It is nasty. And I'm not a child. I'm not a 13, 14-year-old kid. I'm not a 9-year-old. I'm a 30-plus-year-old, a 35-plus-year-old, I should say. And to hear people who their job is literally to manipulate people to thinking about kids in this sexual way, whispering, to create a So, I'm a target individual who not only get the gang stalking, but a lot of the worst for me, on top of being directed energy hitting my body, my organs are destroyed inside. I feel like my digesting system is not functioning properly. I can feel it. Matter of fact, even my breath smell like something's not going well with my organs. And so I know they're doing that. But the worst psychological torture is the way they manipulate my brain. Every time I look at a child, a baby, they make me have some disturbing stimulation. Babies of all ages, from the little ones to the older kids. They do these things. And then they try to make you accept these things. For me, especially black little girls, like, no, black girls, that's you see, you felt that's the. And they try to create sensation stimulations. And sometimes they try to make it seem like you felt like that when you were a kid. You understand? Grown men and women try to say that we are making you think the way you think when you were a child. And to them, this like it lacks seen as logical. Imagine I'm looking at some 30s, not even like a 25-year-old person. I'm like, hey, I'm making you think like a 13-year-old you. They mapped it. First of all, that sounds just retarded. I'm so just thankful that in my life, I never had to do this. Then you hear this trash whispering, and he wants to sound mistake-ful. Listen, I know they're going to do horrible things to me. They tell me how they're going to frame me. And then once I'm framed, I'm going to be tortured in so many ways. Now, you got to understand these people have been humiliated by what you're going to hear. They do this pedophilia type of torture. They have forced people to experience nasty stimulations. They have forced people to have sexual stimulation toward children. It's been said before. On top of that, the entities contracting these losers are filled with pedophiles. There is a problem with pedophilia in these agencies. As they try to say, now we mapped it. We made you think the way you could have felt when you were a kid or something. You had some kind of feeling sometime in your childhood like that. So we're making you, and you're like, you are fucking retarded. Do you think I can ever let you think this way? Do you think I can, like, imagine, I can't imagine myself looking at a grown person. It's like, you know what? We mapped your brain. When you were 13 years old, you felt like that. When you're 10 years old. And try to be respect myself. I won't know what to look at. I would be humiliated. When you're 9 years old. And the truth is, even that is falsified. But even if I was thinking that that's going to be the logical way to make sense of this. When you were 12, that's how you felt. Remember that feeling? And I'm talking to somebody who's like almost 40 years old. We mapped it to that. And then I sent some retard. It's like, we mapped it. And she says it as if like it makes more sense if she's yelling. You know, my coworkers, some of these people are just as childlike as the actual children. Because they've been so compromised that to them, they have locked in this retardation of trying to make somebody subscribe to an obvious manipulation of the brain. They are rewiring my brain to experience things that I would not experience naturally if it was myself. If my brain was not being mapped. Do you understand the stupidity of these things? And then the way they try to counter it, oh, we are at war. You're not at war. Just like a child, just like you're saying you're mapping, you're not at war. But I understand what you're saying. You're at war with reality. You know that obviously he's never going to subscribe to this. The reality is you're in a program where your job, your task is to make a human subject in this program where his brain is being rewired. And your job is to try to break him down into accepting a falsified reaction. That's part of the program. So when I see this little baby, and I'll show out in the next picture, you'll see this little baby, and there's a bunch of babies. They will do that to all of them, but this one is like, and she's like a very pretty little girl. They give me that extra stimulation, and it's like, you see, when I will never ever have this feeling, never. But not only they erasing my current experience in real time is changed, obviously. But my memories is also just changed. So I cannot even think about trying to think, how would I think if I was not in this program? I can't do that. It will never happen. They will always put a memory manipulated. And what they try to make me think is like, oh, imagine when you were a kid. You're not like between 12 and early 14. Imagine that. Can you, are you imagining? Can you imagine saying that to somebody? These people are serious. And it's like, no, there's something. Let me guess. And this something is not the fact that some governmental entity that have been doing the pedophilia type of torture for years and years and manipulating and rewiring the brain and changing people ways of thinking. That couldn't be that something? That couldn't be the something that can change somebody to think in different ways. No, you feel like that's something weird like that when you were a kid. It's like, what the and to this trash really wants you to be like, I'm just so thankful that I never ever had to become this retarded. I'm sorry for the language. I'm thankful that I never had. I know that's his job. And I'm like, at this point, not only I know they do this pedophilia type of torture, not only I know they torture children, but I know the entities contracting these bottom feeders are filled with pedophiles to a high level. There's a lot of pedophiles in these agencies, and they're here now. There's something when you feel like that, something at some point when you were a kid or something like that. I was like, no, I did not feel like that. But I'm not a kid. Well, you guys are here down with child porn. Your head, I'm mapping, and there's something there. And while these people torture children, manipulate people systematically, they are the way they've been manipulating people is so systematic. And I can hear this retard say, "We mapped it. They are now. We can feel like that's like you can feel. I can feel like that if you're in my brain mapping." Do you understand how stupid? I wonder if I could map your brain, like what we can map to. These people are delusional. Maybe I can make you feel something when you feel like when you're 11 years old. Huh? That is the kind of logic these people are using to make me subscribe to this manipulation I'm having today. When they force me to get stimulated toward children. And they tell you, to try to diverge or kill yourself. It's like, thank God that I never had to live the life where you live doing these things. I hear my coworkers thanking them. It's like, thank you for everybody. It's like, and the thank you are not the same as they used to say thank you before, because there was just mass shooting that caused this man to kill 18 people. This man killed 18 people because he was being told he was a pedophile. And he lost it. And he was being told via V2K. Went some places, shot up a whole place, killed 18 people. Fathers, children, a child at least, a mother, or I think it was a mother. And there was like a GoFundMe. You see the baby that they left by themselves. These people are parents and everything else. It's like, you see this? I'm not an aggressive person, but even me felt aggression. So I can only imagine somebody who's already like on the edge, or somebody who's some aggression, not even aggression, but like who can feel aggression quicker. He will lose it easily. And they tell me I'm going to pick up my kids. Yeah. But ask the father who will never pick up his child. They try to present themselves as if they're doing it for their children. What they're doing is literally conditioning the brain of people to think about kids in different ways, to the point where when they make you experience these things, like, no, we mapped it to you when you were like a early teen. Oh, no, preteen. Oh, third grade. And I'm looking at these women and men. It's like, can you imagine I started like saying that to you? I'm start making you think you have children, right? Imagine they say that we're gonna make your brain as young as your children, like, and that's mapping. I'm saying even in the logical ways, but they even changing the memories, because even when I was a kid, I was not looking at and I get that stimulation, and then when they try to make me think, oh, you felt like that in third grade, when I was 9 years old. Never. I will never let them live this low life. And as I'm hearing this trash talk about how they frame me, and they use this tonality, like they're so childlike. The tonality they use via V2K is meant to agitate you and diverge reality. Because right now I just said that even when I was a kid, I was not feeling like that. But they try to make me experience that in my memories, which is falsified. And they try to make me feel this feeling when I'm a child, and it's falsified. But the feeling they try to really try to kind of change it to is me when I was like in third grade. When there was this kid who was a year younger than me when I was 9 years old or 8 years old. That's what they're trying to really change to. and create that stimulation, and then put it in my older kid age, and try to say, now you felt like that, so now you're falsifying even my childhood memories. So today you can say we mapped it. But that's the job. For me, it's been simple. I know that I'm no longer myself. I've not been myself since August 19, 2019. They've been forcing me to make me experience nasty things. What they make me experience, then they say, no, this feeling you felt it before at some point in your childhood, and that's what we're making you feel. So you're saying you're manipulating my brain to be thinking a way of thoughts when I was a child. And they were so proud at one point to say that. It's like, no, it's you when you're 14 years old. Oh my goodness. Somebody literally yelled that. As if that was just like they could normally, like, can you imagine? I'm like, hey, no, it's you when you're 14. Or you when you're 30. They have normalized themselves into becoming retards for the purpose of gaslighting you. And then they're like, no, it's war. And it's not war. You have a task. You want me to subscribe to this manipulation. It makes no sense. You are discussing trash, but what makes sense is that you do the pedophilia type of torture. Yes, you can make me experience things that I've experienced in my memories. Yes, you can manipulate my memories to experience that. You can make me feel stimulation whenever you want. You can force me to have arousals whenever you want. You can have this sensation that is in my brain that you can manipulate me. You have to manipulate me to experience the things that I'm experiencing today. I will not have these things organically. The reason why this baby over there, I'm getting this nasty stimulation is because in this program, you can force people to have stimulations toward children. And this is why today, the almost 40-year-old me is forced to get these nasty stimulations and reactions and sensations. And then you say, no, we mapped it to you when you were a kid. And some retards is like, no, there's something. See, yes, there's something, and I'm talking to me. And there's nobody around me. This something is a perp, a contracted civilian who's working for governmental entities where there's actually a lot of somethings like you. Where there's a problem. And your trash ass your job is tasked to make me accept manipulations, rewiring of my brain that makes me react to babies like that in these disturbing ways. And yes, the fact that you could tell me how you're going to frame me and I'm going to be tortured and you're going to be watching me take it is validation more to me than to you. But I understand for somebody who's been humiliated by the reality of what you're part of, to humiliate by the fact that there's a bunch of pedophiles in these agencies, humiliated by the fact there's testimonials that clearly say there's a pedophilia type of tormenting tactic utilized by the same program that I'm in where you guys torture me. Why am I saying the same thing a million times if it's not going to change anything? It's because I know the power of words. Especially words of somebody who soon will not have any words. This is what I prefer dying and spending my last words saying. Because I know this trash, they're nothings. They know death is going to come to them. They are cowards. And they even try to speak to me in this agitating tonality. Try to be condescending. They try to sound in a way that's just going to try to annoy me. So keep talking. So yes, and this is the words I'm going to say. And the bottom feeder like you, who can't even say the name of a pedophile, who just now know that when I see you, know that there's a bunch of pedophiles that are in child porn in these agencies. And you don't like me talking, but you want me to be talking because I know my words are limited. But knowing those limited words, this is what I want to say. I'm thankful that I never had to live my life working for pedophiles and be like, there's something I master. And I'm listening to this trash like, yes, there is something. And this something can say Roy Moore. So to all my target individuals, through whatever horrible things I'm going to be tortured, which they love to say they're going to watch it, which I'm like, please do. Please watch me. Then you die. One thing is for sure, when you watch me screaming and dying, I will never, in my even worst screaming and pain, want to trade place with your trash ass. And this is coming from somebody who will be tortured and die. So to all my target individuals, stay strong. Okay. So as I was saying, this is the picture, right? And all the way there, you see, like on the corner, there's a bunch of little girls, little black girls, which is what they usually do these things. And it's like, no, we mapped it, we paired it to you when you were a kid. Like some stupidity. Basically, you have to force me to experience something that I will not experience naturally, but you're saying that I'm experiencing because you were able to, or because you are making me experiencing because I have experienced it in my childhood. Like I said, imagine I said to this person, this 40-year-old man, like, hey, we can make you feel a feeling that you felt when you were a kid. It's like, what? That is the most logical way for them to try to make me believe this pedophilia type of torture. But in reality, besides this retardation of way they want me to think about things, they literally do the pedophilia type of torture. They have been forcing men and women to think about children in these disgusting ways. This is why today I'm forced to have these disgusting stimulations, which they say, no, what you're doing is like you're being a child, like, and you're thinking like the way you thought when you were a child. First of all, as illogical and as dumb as it sounds like, these people really want you to subscribe to this. I'm not a child, so I'm not going to subscribe to that. And every time I bring out the fact of this reality, it's like, oh, he's going to knock you out. It's like, okay, I'm going to be knocked out. You do the pedophilia type of torture, and the logic you're utilizing is the most childlike ways, spectrum-like ways to make somebody think. You're saying that you're making me think like I was when I was like a child. This is why I'm thankful that I don't do what they do. I know it's easy. I know it doesn't take much. Matter of fact, they probably have to dumb themselves down, if anything. It's retardations. And the reality is they do the pedophilia type of torture. They force people, men and women, to experience disgusting pedophilia type of torture. They experience these pedophilia type of reactions. And then for me, in my case, then they're like, no, what we're doing, when you felt like that when you were like maybe 10 years old. Even saying that out loud brings out the reality of how stupid this thing is. But listen to what they do. Forget about the fact that just use this illogical retardation of logic as they do this pedophilia type of torture. But they've been systematically doing the pedophilia type of torture in those entities, contracting this trash that are mapping. I'm sorry, I can't take it serious when I say these things. Or pairing, which is like we're making you think. It's basically matching. We're making you experience the way you experienced something like that when you were a kid. Have been doing the pedophilia type of torture, and have been manipulating men and women to get disturbing reactions toward children, and then try to diverge and disorient you every time you say these things that are obviously the obvious things they do. Please listen to things they've done to people and tell me if it doesn't sound like very familiar to what they do to me.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture. Perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children.
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal or...
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
It's dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care.
I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture.
So there's obvious a pattern. Obviously, there's some kind of pattern where pedophilia type of torture, which you just heard, is something they do. And it's nasty. And it doesn't end there. They actually torture children. One thing they like to do too is like, now you pay. And then talk about the stupid thing I did when I was in middle school. Now, I didn't get this nasty stimulation that make me experience it today. But there's something I did something stupid I did when I was a child. So I'm a kid who just turned 14 years old or about to. Something they have to exaggerate. They're like, no, okay, you pay for that. It's like, first of all, you torture children. They hurt children. Now, I know this nasty stimulation is what you manipulate me to experience. And even when I was a kid and whatever stupid thing I did not experience this thing. I just did some impulsive thing a child can do. But listen to what they do to children. They torture children sexually. Listen to this.
I had a 7-year-old. I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream despite having She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, ow, and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, ow. I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair.
So it goes on, and you hear more torture, even babies being tortured. As I was recording this, I can hear this trash say, "They're gonna be severe torture." It tried to disorient me. I'd rather be tortured in every way possible, in the worstest way you can imagine, than be involved in things, in program that does these things. These people who are trying to interrupt this testimonial were trying to make me not think about what they do to children. They're severely torturing them. And those are the same people who wanted to present themselves as protective of children. Some of them have children themselves. As if like, no, we mapped it, we paired it to you when you were a kid. You understand what they do to kids? These people are disgusting. And even manipulating men and women to think about children like that. And then try to make me think, no, well, you used to think like that. We just made you think like that. Like the way you used to think when you were a kid. And then tell me I'm going to be raped and tortured. I was like, I'd rather get raped and tortured than live my life involving what you just heard. And making myself as illogical as that. The thing is, there was a point that they wanted to be seen. And now I'm like, yeah, you mapped it, huh? Just like you mapped this 3-year-old grabbing their crotch. Just like you mapped almost all target individuals, forced them to see child porn in their brain. It's me when I was a child. Just like it's this Jackie when she was a child. You do the pedophilia type of torture. But this trash, quote-unquote, mapping, this trash, quote-unquote, investigating, and not investigating, we're just human subjects. They try to break us down using the most disturbing tactics, and pedophilia is the tactic they use. But what they've done to women and children is things that have been well recorded. For me, I'll never identify with any of these things. This baby over there that they try to force me stimulation is because they in my brain forcing me to experience these stimulations. The sole reason why this is happening to me, the reaction I'm reacting this way, is because this I'm in this program as a human subject where now my own reactions are no longer mine, but I'm experiencing things that are forced onto me. Whatever way they try to paint it as, now we're just making you think the way you thought that something's like, no, you are in my brain making me experience this. This is the result of you being my brain, manipulating my brain to experience this. My brain needs to be manipulated, need to be rearranged for me to experience this. This is not natural or organic. Just like it would not be natural or organic if I made you experience things that you will not experience yourself organically, but experience it because I'm in your brain making you experience it. And then to say, no, I'm making you experience something you experienced as a child, is still as retarded as it sounds. As falsified as it is, it's still stupid. Can you imagine? It's like, no, I'm making you think the way you thought when you were a kid. Why? You understand how they are so dumb in the sense... Sorry, they're not dumb. They are so delusional in the sense that I don't understand. They try to gaslight me into accepting these manipulations. But the reality is the entity is contracting these losers. And I call them losers in the sense that regardless of what they've accomplished in life, some of them have done way more than me. I'm sure they're getting paid pretty well. Most of them at least. What I call them losers is they have to counter this reality. There is a problem with pedophilia. I'm not talking about mapping, and I'm sorry if I use that word like that, but that's truly how I can imagine if I said it. The reality is there are obvious problem with pedophilia in these agencies that contract this slow life. They don't have to make them think the way they thought when they were like 13, 14. Listen to what these agencies have problem of. First of all, listen to obviously that this program is run by this entity, and then understand that there's been a pattern of problem in those agencies running this program, contracting these slow lives.
So they'll say we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. And so anyway, my interview with Len, he very well described a typical breakdown script that's used on almost all the TI victims. TI stands for targeted individuals. Some of them are pretty crazy. They have names like Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, and those are the confusion tactics. And when they're breaking down the ego of the human through all the pains and tortures and the verbal breakdown, these are typical CIA torture scripts.
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you? That's the thing.
Sexual contact with a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. He was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor compromised in some way by
my analysis based on this.
In our intelligence crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this
weeded out? Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress.
So you heard him. Why is there so many pedophiles in these agencies? Well, this retard is like, there it is something. Yes. When I hear these people talking to me, while I know the disturbingness of what they're involved in, the humiliation of reality, of what these people do, of who is in charge, and I know that these people have tactics to break you down. Can you imagine being told that it's you when you're a child, and you hear the reality of what's happening, but the same entities running this program? You heard a CIA agent doing things to 2-year-old and 6-year-old? You heard some CIA agent downloading 1,400 child. Listen, and when they say unbelievable, it's a lot. It's really because there's actually numbers. So, there was a Boston Globe article that came out in 2010, before this Daniel Payne was even a director, and they were writing the article about this operation called Operation Flicker, which ended up finding out that there was like thousands of child porn, of thousands of employee from a Pentagon employee downloading in the agency, Pentagon agency employee downloading child porn. Some of them end up even downloading child porn on the government devices. But they download child porn from that specific website that they were investigating. That's why they caught so many of them. And then I'm saying thousands, like 5,000 plus of employee, based on just one single like investigation that wasn't even related to anything targeting Pentagon employees. They're just targeting the website, and just happened to circle into that world of the DoD. And then at the time, the director of the DSS, the Defense Security Service, was shocked by the amount of child porn he was seeing when he was examining computers of the employees. He oversaw a lot of employees. So when he says shocked and unbelievable, you gotta know that's a lot of child porn he saw on those computers. You know, it's in thousands, at least. And it was just not just a few, one or two, not even like maybe 15, no, like thousands. For him to be shocked, because he oversees a lot of employees. So if he saw like maybe 10, 20, like no. Shocked for somebody who oversees that. I mean, the amount of employees in the DoD is just limited, like, well, I don't know, it's like 1 million or so. Minus the army, maybe like all like, you know, the non-army people, the non-military ones. The level of child porn he probably saw it's truly, now I can imagine how unbelievable it is. Because just based on just one investigation on the child porn website, they're catching pedophiles that work in these agencies. And you hear this retard try to make me subscribe to this. That is their job. They are supposed to get you to accept these manipulations. Now we mapped it. Can you hear somebody like that's trying to block out this aspect? And it's like, no, there are this. You felt like there's something when you were a kid. You felt something like, oh Jesus. Yes, there's something that's making me experience this, and you work for that something. So, just to wrap this up, they also create this PSYOP. A PSYOP that's disturbing because they think because of this PSYOP, it gives them some kind of permission, not even permission, but it makes it okay doing what they do. What I mean is, they've been a lot of, try to create this like progressive group of people, woke almost, saying that, you know, it's our money, and a lot of like women, I'm not even going female, because I'm not going to call them women, as you're going to hear why, involved in this and try to present themselves like, oh, listen, I'm a woman, I'm a female, look at me, I'm doing that for my kids. Trash. Can you imagine having children and be involved in this program where you're literally manipulating somebody's brain in these ways? Even involved in the program where they torture children. And then they're like, no, you pay for what you did as a kid. You what? Did you just hear what they do to kids? Some of them have kids as young as the age they tell me they're mapping me to. So have you talked to your child there? Imagine you yourself, an adult that you are, they make you think that that's the way you thought at that age. You understand the illogicalness of it all? On top of that, it's even manipulated, and then make you manipulate your memories of you when you were a child, and force you to have false memories of. It's just ridiculously retarded. What you have to block out the reality of what it is. If anything, being a woman or a mother or a father is the foulest things for the people. Like, those are the worst perps. Those are the people who deserve a lot worse than anybody else. Because you have children and you're involved in this. The level of conditioning they've been making me experience dreams, manipulating, getting stimulations. Every time even hearing a child, will give me stimulations. It is a daily thing. Every day, 24/7, training my brain to think about children, even dreams. If I could describe the dreams they made me experience, it's so disgusting. But going back to the PSYOP, they try to present themselves as this good like good people of like protecting, avenging fierce women.
Occasion, I was told I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. Sound like an angry ass old person. Then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. Stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice to Skull, it's a bunch of females. And I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, they call me retarded bitch and all of this here, but I was top of my class.
You hear what they do, and that's PSYOP. But just to finish this up, these torments have pushed people to kill. Not too long ago, there was one of the largest mass shooting. Killed 18 people. Listen to what he went through. And listen to another mass shooting that happened in 2014. And listen to the familiar stories here.
In Me last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is a Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in Me last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
That interview, the teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. Teenage son and the ex-wife say that he has started to hear voices. With his reserve unit to West Point, New York for an annual training exercise, and there's a concerning incident that takes place. They're all hanging out together at a motel, and he starts accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions. Accusing them of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly. Of calling him a pedophile. This is one of his paranoid delusions that comes up repeatedly.
This way, and my ELF weapon. Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters.
So, yes, there is something. Yes, that something is this trash manipulating people in these ways to torment them and push them to be violent and aggressive due to the anger. And for them to think that I will let them stick to this logic. That's what I'm experiencing is me as a child. Ways of thinking. Just shows how disturbing these people are. I'm not a child. You're manipulating my brain to experience something that I would not experience naturally if I was not being manipulated 24/7 to experience things that is not something that I'll experience organically. My brain is being rewired, and this is why when I see this little girl over there, the little baby over there, this is why I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing right now. It's nasty, but I'm thankful that my life was not living life like there's some things that they are.